500 to 1400 BC was the medieval age in Europe. In this time, art was not a declared practice, nor was it taught.
Instead, it came in the form of guilds, societies that preserved technical information about certain crafts. Their teachings were preserved in codex. Guilds were created to educate the practice of blacksmiths, sword making, wood carving, and more. One major characterization of medieval art is that their depictions of life were flat and lacked perspective. Following the fall of Rome, the Middle Ages failed to capture the same illusion and perspective play that the Romans showed in their architecture, evident in the Parthenon columns. The concept of linear perspective that the Age of Rome seemed to harness fell along with the empire. The lack of linear perspective can be seen in Christ and the Samaritan Women, by Duccio du Buonsegna, painted in 1310. This tempera in gold on panel is a prime example of the loose grasp art had on perspective at the time. Christ is seen having a conversation with the Samaritan woman while his disciples are watching. The placement of the disciples shows an effort by the artist to try to represent depth and distance. The unusual upwards path of the cobblestone and how the crowd is painted in a different setting, rather than with the same setting as Christ, and the woman shows that Buonsegna attempted to set the figures further back in space. It is also evident in this depiction of the town in the background. The attempts of spatial depth and awareness shown in this work demonstrates the general idea of perspective. However, the execution is greatly flawed. Interestingly enough, in the same year of 1310, the first successful crack at the ceiling of perspective was made in Giotto's Ognissanti Madonna. In this work, it can be seen that the Mary is starting to recede into a well-defined space.
Angels are seated at the foreground, and the figure gets smaller as the painting progresses into more depth. Giotto's innovative perspective is revolutionary. However, it is not the scientific adaptation we know today. Although Giotto is often credited to having started the new age of perspective in art, his grasp on the concept is more intuitive than logistical. Meanwhile, all the way across the world, the movable type was invented in China. The Northern Song dynasty made movable type by using and cutting clay as single block letters. Eventually, wood type replaced clay types, as shown in the Yuan dynasty block print Zuzhu. The creation of woodblock printing allowed for literacy to become accessible to all class levels because of its ability to produce text at an unprecedented speed. The process of woodblock printing utilized letters, carved individually to produce sentences instead of one large block print for a page of text. Once printing became widespread, the Chinese paper industry began to evolve. The Chinese paper industry began to develop. As the Middle Ages went on, another artistic movement began to appear in Western and Central Europe, the Gothic period.